Warning.
Watch very closely now. 3, 2, 1. Bzow! Check that out.
The following podcast features terrible jokes.
You know you can use Hot Wheels cars when you need to make a saving throw in D&D? Every car is die-cast.
Usually about board games.
We want the fun. Gotta have that fun.
Must insist that no one attempt to recreate any joke performed on this podcast.
We had less technical issues than $1 million company.
All right!
This is Boards and Swords.
Good evening. Good evening. Sorry, I felt like I had to. Evening, everybody. Welcome to Boards and Swords. This is a podcast where we have bad jokes, good folks, and some tabletop games. I'm your host, recovering at least. My name's Chris Renshaw, and then I'm going to flip it over to a partner in crime, Mr. Philip Herbig.
What's going on, everybody? I'm over here in recovery. I'm Chris Renshaw. Hi, Chris.
Does Philip need to wear a mask for this episode?
My name's Chris, and I'm addicted to GW. Hi, Chris.
Oof. Yeah, ain't wrong, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. There's gonna be some words with GW on this episode.
Oh.
As much as I like it, but I will apologies.
Stern talking to, little finger wagging.
Yeah,
going
very
on
much.
as well.
Stern finger wagging. Apologies front. You realize it's been a month since we did a recording.
It's my Mondays have been my every other Monday.
Yeah, it's been a while, so much that I actually forgot to hit record.
Oh.
But it's okay. I recorded the video, so we're fine.
There we go.
Yeah, backups. That's why you have backups. That's why you
on
point
there.
this stuff out too, because everybody loves that. That's just good radio. Yeah, we had some scheduling issues with our guest, and then which I rescheduled because I think it'll be a better interview. Because we had one of the people from Cobalt coming on to talk about Tales from the Valiant, and I managed to get a copy of Tales of the Valiant. That's the off-brand D&D. Like I like to say it's like we're gonna make our own D&D with booze and hookers.
Yes.
That it's basically when that whole OGL thing went down, and they're like, we're gonna make our own D&D. So.
Is that when everyone switched over to what the orc?
Yes, they were one of the drivers, but they were like the next biggest partner next to Paizo.
Oh, nice.
But I got their player's guide in and reading up on that, so. That way it'll be a little bit more informed discussion. And then last week I was like, coming back from Nova, which is funny because I was like, let's take a week off so I can rest and recover. Then get sick. 4 years, man.
The rest and recovery.
I mean, I did. I just didn't know what I was going to be recovering from. 4 years I managed to get away without having COVID. And then finally, I don't mask at one small little convention, and small in quotation marks, because it turns out it was like 5,000 people. But
I mean, based on other conventions we've been to.
I know, right? The last episode we were talking about Gen Con. But I am putting this out there now. 2025, we're doing another show at Nova. This year, I wasn't sure what we would do because I wasn't sure what was going to be there guest-wise.
Mm-hmm.
But I have ideas and thoughts for how to do it next year that I think it'll be fun. So, yeah, I would like that to make that kind of like the home convention sort of thing since it is like in our backyard. But we're going to talk more about Nova in a bit. First, we've got some news. Let me see if I remember how these buttons work. So,
F4.
Yes, definitely. When you get fooled by someone that you met online, instead of calling it catfishing, why don't we call it getting cyberpunked? Also, there are too many freaking Cyberpunk 2077 games. Because I saw this headline that was Cyberpunk 2077, the board game, passes 2 million in a day. And when I first wrote this down, like in the notes, I said, oh, Simon still knows how to raise money because Simon was showing off a Cyberpunk 2077 board game at Gen Con. So I thought this was that. No, that already released earlier this year.
Ah.
That's Cyberpunk 2077. That's like Gangs of New York or something like that.
Okay.
This is like the actual the board game, Cyberpunk 2077 : the board game, like
Gotcha.
made by Go On Board and CD Projekt Red, who makes 2077. So, but like you've got that Simon game, you've got this game. There's also the Edge Runners game that Monster Fight Club does. That's the Cyberpunk Combat Zone. There's also Cyberpunk Combat Zone. That's the, set more in the RPG era, but still. Anyways, but Cyberpunk 2077, the board game, passes $2 million in a day. Keep in mind, this isn't on Kickstarter. This is on GameFound. So in its first 24 hours, it's passed over $2 million. In fact, I believe, so this article is like a couple days old. I'm pretty sure they're well over $3 million at this point. But as the publication, when this article was published, it was at just about 3 million with 17,000 backers. The new board game has players assuming the roles of either V, Jackie, Panam, or Judy to tackle various jobs in Night City, as well as an alternative storyline. So like, it's not really spoilers because it's like the first mission in 2077. Have you played it at all?
I have not.
Okay.
It looks amazing.
It's pretty good. I played it like at the end of last year. Well, it was like one of the first big Steam Deck plays I did.
Gotcha.
But there's like a mission that goes wrong that in this game basically it doesn't. There's another thing instead. So like they never reach Konpeki Plaza, but instead ends up with them take a mission from a mysterious fixer.
3.47.
3.47 million?
Yes.
Jesus.
10 days left. At 3.51, there's another stretch goal.
Of course, because that's how we do things now.
Of course.
Yep, and I know my camera died. Yeah, I think it's getting hot.
Oh Lord, I'm looking at the. I'm just running through the like add-ons and stuff. It's this sounds the way these are titled. It sounds like Spaceballs because it's Cyberpunk 2077, the thermal mug, Cyberpunk 2077, Metals Poster, Cyber Psycho, Cyberpunk 2077 pin set.
All right.
Secure, yeah.
This mission sends players on a 13-story campaign missions where they will use Minotaurs, giant mechs, drive the Basilisk, and eventually meet the main villain. Yeah, so this is basically just like small tweaks to make it so that you can play any character, but basically the plot line of the video game in a board game.
Okay.
So,
minis look awesome.
of course they do. With a game like this, they gotta look good. With a game like Smuckers, it has to be good. All right. Moving on. If I take a hat for granite, does that now make it a capstone? That was like a double pun in there. But, I couldn't have the entire show be miniatures related. It easily could have been. But we got the Essen Spiel coming up, in October. So we've got all the new hotness in the board game world getting announced. So Capstone Games announced 3 products that they're going to be releasing. Black Forest, which is designed by Uwe Rosenberg. That's a guy that did like your Caverna and Agricola, none of which I'm expecting Philip to know. But Players travel from village to village in the Black Forest landscape to enlist specialist workers to build up their domain. Black Forest brings back resource wheels that were first seen in Glass Road. This game is for 1 to 4 players, plays in 90 minutes, and retails for $70. Yeah, this is basically the Colin and Cindy kind of games.
Okay, if you're searching for that on Google, make sure you put board game in there. Because Agricola, just typing in Agricola, the first result is National Agricultural Library, USDA.gov.
Also, there's going to be an Ark Nova Zoo map pack. So Ark Nova was a big like zoo kind of big Euro-y game as well. So now there's more stuff for that. And then the third game is called Stevens, which is about glassmakers at the William Stevens factory in the 18th century. Players vie to become the most prestigious figure in Lisbon. I don't know if that's what, by investing in new businesses and creating jobs before the Napoleonic forces arrive. that was kind of a last minute like thing in there.
Yeah.
You know, we'll create all these jobs in glass making before the army comes. Oh, what do you expect though? 1 to 4 players, 90 minutes, and also for $60. All right. I've only ever watched a few seconds of anime in my life, by the way. I've heard all you really need to see is One Piece.
Ooh.
And that's a lie. I've definitely watched way more than a few seconds of anime. I always like to throw out these TCG Player sealed products because, again, it's to just vary up the news bits a little here. So, of course, you know, Magic the Gathering, this is for August on tcgplayer.com. Magic does, you know, 9 slots on this, which is short of July's total of 12, which that was, remember, everybody's talking about, like, Magic being so bad, but yet it was taking up all the stuff. I have been hearing nonstop about Bloomborough, by the way. Everybody talk because it's like the cutesy fairy tale-ish kind of set. So I've been hearing a lot of play about that. I thought it was interesting that One Piece was number 3 on this list. And then you get into like Lorcana, more Magic, Pokemon, and then One Piece again. And then you kind of get down in the everybody else. It was just kind of shocking that that One Piece was as high as it is. I mean, I knew people around here that play, but it's always been such a small community. Right now, everybody's going crazy for this new game, or not new game, but new to around here called Flesh and Blood. It's another CCG type game. It's been around for a little bit, and Team Covenant used to promote it a lot on their website. That's how I knew about it, was from them, because you could buy it through them. I don't know anything about the game itself, though, other than I know a lot of people like tired of Magic have been falling into that.
Gotcha.
But because we now have a new store.
Oh, we do?
Yeah. So the game store near us, it's basically in the same place as the old game store.
Okay.
But it did like a soft opening a couple weeks ago, and so I've been there a couple days, not recently, obviously, but like when they first opened up, I brought Ashes, since I got the Ashes Reborn. I managed to get a couple people interested in Ashes there. But yeah, so that's how I know, like, there's some people talking about Flesh and Blood. That was actually, so funny story about that, where they were talking about, because people have been, you know, wanting to buy the product for the at the store, because this store is charging people for table space. But if you buy product, you get the table space for free. And so some people are just like, well, I'll just pay a little bit more and get some stuff and not have to pay for it. And so they'll be like, oh, we're out of Flesh and Blood. Like, how can we get more of this new set? And they're like, yeah, we talked to our distributor, and they don't have any, because apparently, like, a pallet just disappeared. Like, they're having an internal investigation of what happened. Like, this is some, like, Gen Con stuff where, like, somebody just disappeared with a pallet of these cards. So they don't know when stores are having to go to other distributors to see if they can get this stuff.
Okay, this is the old spot.
What? Yeah, I said it was.
You said it was near the old spot.
Oh, I thought it. No, I said it was in the old spot.
Oh, I heard near.
Oh,
I'm like, I heard like pretty much in the old spot, and I was like, oh, pretty much in the old spot. This is the old spot.
oh yes. Okay, maybe that's where the distinction was. Yeah. So it's also going to eventually have a restaurant too, but more like appetizer style. But that part isn't open yet.
Okay.
But all right.
There's a suit of armor.
Yeah. No, it is tricked out pretty good. Once things get up and running, we may have to do like a live show then or something.
Yes.
Once we get, of course, I gotta like, now that we have like guests, I have to like set aside a specific slot and then be like, okay, this will be that slot. All right.
And talk to the owners and get all that.
Oh, I already, trust me, I talk with them even before they open because they were asking me for ideas and stuff because I know them through other friends. Like it's like I know a friend who knows that. That kind of thing. All right. Not quite a joke on this one, but don't ask me why I'm only now thinking about this. But doesn't D&D Beyond sound like a sci-fi version of just D&D? Like, it's D&D Beyond.
That's what they did with Batman.
Oh yeah, Batman Beyond.
To show that it was in the future and Batman Beyond.
D&D Beyond walks back. Yeah, so wizards basically can't help but shoot themselves in the foot.
Oh
like literally, everybody was complaining about the new D&D, there being the new D&D books. And by the way, my thoughts are up on the website. I've managed to look at it. It's probably like the fastest I've reviewed a D&D book ever. But basically, it's a lot better than the original one. But it's a solid book. Like, this isn't just like a money grab. Like, it's a lot of work and effort put into that book. And it's coming out, around now is like when, like last week, I think is when the like early stores could get it. And I think a week from this week is the official like everywhere release. So, like, literally, it's a solid book. People are clamoring for it. All they had to do was just shut up and let people buy it. Like, a lot of people are praising the book. But no, they had to take it a step further. And that they came out with a thing where it was, oh, by the way, if you're going to play D&D Beyond, you have to use the 2024 rule set from now on. Like, there's no using the previous rule set. The one where you're like, oh, it's compatible with the old rule set? Yeah, so there was like players who only have access. Oh, well, this is the
official.
The official. Yeah. So yeah, the way it was gonna have to be is like if you wanted to keep playing the basic, like your 2014 level stuff, you had to have homebrew, which I think to homebrew you have to have a subscription. And then make your changes in that way instead of them being in by default, because there's a lot of things that have shifted, and like if you like. Or if some DMs are just like, we're not playing with that rule set. We're just going to stick with what we have, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
I also
stick with what we've known for the past 10 years.
Exactly. I also appreciate more people are calling it 5.5.
That does. I did see that I'm like, that makes sense.
It really is. It's a full-on update. It's not a different edition, but it is basically like revised. So yeah, that was they came out with this thing that was like, yeah, we're going to change this thing. So you have to have 2024. And everybody was like, no. And so people stopped. I don't know. They did the standard like boycotting D&D Beyond. And then literally like a couple days later, they were like, just kidding, guys. Just kidding. That
was an intern that wrote that. We fired the intern. Yeah. We're good now.
If there were people responsible for sacking them have just been sacked. Yeah, so now you do not need to rely on Homebrew to use their 2014 player options, including spells and magic items as recommended in previous changelogs. Our excitement around the 2024 core rulebooks led us to view these planned updates as welcome improvements and free upgrades to existing content. No. It's not a free upgrade. I mean, it's free in that if you put it out there on D&D Beyond, you could make stuff for free, but
Yeah.
only in the OGL, like not in the regular rule books. We misjudged the impact of this change, and we agree that you should be free to choose your own way to play. So, yeah, it's just like literally, this is Wizards is so tied up on trying to like squeeze every bit of money out of D&D that they're just going to end up killing D&D.
They are. It doesn't sell itself, but it sells itself.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
no, it's like I've said this before, is where you need to focus is your licensing. That's your moneymaker. Take the D&D property, put it into other stuff, and that, by the way, will get people into D&D. But D&D by itself as a game is not going to ever make you millions of dollars or billions of dollars. It may make millions. Hasbro needs decent leadership.
Making some great movies.
Yes, there you go. That's your billions of dollars there.
And being sure to that was I watched the very first D&D movie.
Yeah.
With like the yellow dragons and all that stuff.
Is that the one that had Jeremy Irons in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that was a good movie, but it didn't capture the, 6 people around a table like this new one did.
Yeah.
And the goofy random shit breaking out of jail. We were going to let you go.
Yeah. Hasbro needs decent leadership. I agree. Well, Hasbro needs someone that understands their product. That's the thing, is they're trying to make their product into something that it's not. It's like, how do I know this, but like the higher ups don't? Like, I get you need to like, line goes up. They have to make everything, but there's
It would take a long time. It would take all 4 days, but Hasbro should rent out a room from one of the hotels at Gen Con and just interview the D&D players.
That's too much money.
That is too much money. But like, hey, what are we doing? And what are you doing? And then take all that feedback.
They're just giving other games the promotion that it's like by trying to make their game more money, they've inevitably made other games more money by people. Like when the OGL thing hit and like Paizo sold out of all their Pathfinder stuff. Like, congrats. You just made another company more money from you guys trying to make more money. Like, bravo. But talking about and going into money-making decisions, I decided to take some courses at the local college to like refresh my skills, but I was locked out from signing up. Turns out they were classified. So we talked about there's a new version of Kill Team coming out, which is the skirmish version of 40K. It's its own different game set. It plays a lot differently. It's not like just like it's not like 40K, but with smaller army size. Like it's its own full game where you can have like 6 to 12 figures fighting. And there's a new 3rd edition coming out, and so Games Workshop is rolling up all the articles and stuff to talk about it. However, I don't know about this next one. So first off, they previewed Hivestorm, which is the new box for Kill Team. Very fancy. Lots of stuff. I'm estimating it's probably going to be like, or not I'm estimating. What I've seen online is people estimate it's going to be like $280. So I'm like, not today, Satan. But then they came out with this list, and it says classified year 1, classified year 1 and 2. So I got to back up a second in case you don't know anything about Kill Team. So the way that the second edition, which is what these rules are basically a small change from, because the first edition of Kill Team was just like, here's your army rules, make a list, kind of like the way 40K is. Second edition Kill Team was like, we're going to change things up, and here's a compendium that's got like all your minis from like figures you already have, but we've already pre-created them into lists, so just pick one of these lists. And then other than that, we're going to sell box sets that, like a lot of people call them bespoke sets, and each of those box sets is going to have a set of rules that for Kill Team that goes with it. So you can play with your other stuff, but it turns out that most of those are underpowered anyways. Like the real way to play was to buy these bespoke lists in the Kill Team box sets, whether it be like the starter sets or they would also sell them as individual sets later on. So now with this new version of Kill Team, they've said they're not going to have a compendium at all. So it's only going to be these bespoke lists. However, they came out and said that only certain lists are going to be getting new rules in the new Kill Team. So what the classified means it means tournament legal, basically. So Kill Team is doing a rotation, like what Magic does, where they have a standard rotation. So basically the first 14, I think 14 Kill Teams that they came out with, they're only going to be usable in the first year of the new version of Kill Team. After that, they're basically getting shunted away. All the other sets that they've come out with that are down here and any future ones, they will get continuing support in the current edition of Kill Team. And basically, like, I think they talked about it's going to be like a 4-year cycle when stuff like moves out.
Okay.
Which basically covers, because I do editions in like 3-year cycles, so it's like each Kill Team's going to have 2 editions worth of coverage, which is great, except for like these minis are like $60 minis that then take a bunch of time and effort to assemble and paint and everything. And it's just like, oh, cool. So now this isn't any good. And they justify it by being like, and talking about, oh, it's hard to balance some like 30 kill teams and stuff, which just makes you think like maybe it shouldn't be as unique as that. Maybe it should be a little bit more general so that you don't have to make, 30 to 60 different balance things. But, yeah, so. Yeah, if you have some of the early kill teams, they're only going to be good for a year, at least in tournament play. So, like, other places you'll be able to, like, playing at home with your friends, you'll still be able to do that. And they did say that before each set goes out, they will, like, update them. So, like, any balancing that they want to do, they get, like, one last update, and then they're shunted off.
Okay.
But still, it's kind of like, like, they talk about it being for balancing, but it's like, you just want more money, don't you? You want to get into that Magic rotation that where it's like, oh, now we got to force people to buy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're really trying to promote both in all aspects of the games. They've really been trying to promote their competitive play. I would imagine maybe I have no idea of way to verify the numbers on this, but I have some inkling that competitive players may drive more money than non-competitive players, because like competitive players have to stay like on top of the meta, so you have to buy like what's good.
Oh yeah, you gotta
like whereas like your competitive players are the ones that are coming like reoccurring customers. Like you may have a broad customer base that each individual one is like buying bits here and here, but you're going to have a core group that's buying a lot. And
they're buying a lot. And I'm thinking back to the X-Wing group.
Yeah.
That was at the store where they would like, oh yeah, I need this upgrade card. It's only available in an A-Wing, but every ship can use it. I'm going to buy 12 A-Wings.
Yeah.
And pull that one card out of there.
Which luckily they got rid of in second edition for that very reason, so that you could buy just multiple card packs.
Yes.
instead of having to buy multiple ships. But yeah, that's the end of our news. Although I'm gonna have some more to talk about in a sec. But Phil, why don't you talk about Patreon?
Patreon.com/boards and swords, boardsandSwords.com/Patreon. Both those links are going to get you where you need to go. Folks, we love having you around. If you love having us around, we just need a little support. That's all we're asking for. You get access to so everybody out there, no matter what, we got the Discord. All right. But then for you patrons, we got some special super secret squirrel channels hiding in there. I can see them. They got locks on them and stuff.
Yep.
It's really cool. You get access to those. All right. Higher tiers. Chris is going to make fun of your favorite games in the most dad jokest ways ever. There's dice that'll eventually go out. There's he doesn't know about this. There's a date with Chris. Don't tell him I said anything.
Don't tell my wife.
Don't. He'll be happy. She'll be like, yes, get the hell out of the house.
Especially after this week. Yeah.
We've got some plans in the works. All right, we're gonna do a live play of something. It was gonna be Love Mutants of Castle Heartache. We should probably still do that because I've been advertising it for like 2 years.
Yeah.
But we got live plays. We've got invites go out. We had Dirtbag Invitational. That was some fun stuff. We got bonus bits. You guys get access to all that random kind of stuff. Chris does.
We got new stuff because by the time we get through this episode, I'm probably gonna be too exhausted to record bonus bits. However, Mr. Philip Herbig, that way, managed to give me a copy of Space Marine 2.
Dos.
So at some point, I'm not promising tomorrow because who knows if things will work or whatever. But at some point, we're gonna do a patron-only kind of like stream of us playing Space Marine 2 and just hanging out and chatting. I've already set up the Discord. You'll notice if you're in the Discord, boardsandswords.com/Discord, and you're a patron, there's a new stage chat thing that they have where it's a new community feature where it's basically like Twitch inside of Discord, where I can like have people present and whoever I want to be able to talk, but everybody else can kind of just listen along, and like I think there's a chat as well. But yeah, so that way we can do that. We don't have to get the whole like rest of the internet involved, especially if like YouTube and private recordings and all of that. So but yeah, and then also while I've been sick and not in the whole month there, I have actually been working on that Mambo number 5 D&D adventure.
Oh.
I think I got each encounter worked out as far as like what each one is. I just have to do the stat them up.
Okay.
Because not all the monsters I want are in the right challenge level for the level. Because I'm gonna make it a level 5 adventure because number 5, and then but not all the monsters are appropriate for level 5 adventurers. So
that's where you, as the DM, you just you don't even have to mess with their stats. You just be like, oh, this guy's gonna roll 30 points of damage. He rolls 4.
Well, yeah.
Just do that on the fly in your head. You don't even have to write that stuff down.
Fair, but I think at some point I do want to try and like sell this. So.
Oh, there you go.
So, yeah. So. Patreon.com/boardsandSwords for all that stuff. And now it's time to talk some Nova. So, yeah. So I was in a really good position this year where I signed. Coming off Gen Con, it's always a lot to go to Nova, but this year I managed to. I had the ability, thanks to having more leave at work, to take off and help set up stuff for Nova, In which case they were able to.
I saw you posted pictures of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was able to. I volunteered to help on some of the. So not every Saturday, but they do these Saturday things up in Lorton, Virginia, which they have like. It's so funny. You as someone that works at U-Haul to see at this storage unit where they have like 3 on this line and like 1 inside this building or like 2 inside this building. They have like they open up one and roll out a whiteboard that has a map to where all the different ones are.
Oh, that's awesome.
Luckily, like most of them are on like one side. They're like in they're like 2 locations, so it's
Okay.
not like spread out everywhere. But they did going through and like organizing everything, like packing up all the swag bags. Which next year I got to try and get me one of their super fancy Supernova badges. They're like $300. They're very limited, so they're like insta-click gone. But like each Supernova this year got a copy of the new AOS Scaventide box, the Age of Sigmar Scaventide starter box,
Okay.
which that's $300 in and of itself. So
wow.
then they got like all this exclusive Nova swag, like specific dice that only they got, other things like that, by the way, which are made by Baron of Dice.
Okay.
Then also like they got these. They have a partnership with I think it's called KR and Multicase, where they got like choices of bags. So like they could get like think a bag, to hold. If you think like one of those BoardGameTables.com bags,
Mhm.
but one of something like that, but designed for like minis. So the idea is like you could take. They have these little card cases that have foam in them that you just then slide in, and then you have this bag. So you got that. Or you could get it as like a backpack, or some people were, if they didn't, if they had already gotten bags in previous years, you could just get the cases to slide them in instead.
Oh, nice.
So you got like a miniature carrying case thing also. You got like mugs and, all this swag, t-shirts, and then there's other benefits you get at the convention. Like they have their own like concierge service. So like you got your big army stuff and you don't want to say you're not staying there every night and you don't want to have to like take your army in and out every day. You could just leave it at this table or leave it and they'd lock it up and then the next day it's like bag storage.
Okay. Yeah.
Stuff that like would be good at Gen Con.
Mm-hmm. Probably a little probably a little easier to manage, I think, than maybe I don't know. I remember over at when we went to PAX East.
Yeah.
And like that one section was just full of everyone's computers.
Yeah.
That they brought over. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit easier I think to manage than that because the where it's held at the Hilton, Washington Hilton, they have like and this is like the presidential Hilton where they have like the big huge presidential suites and stuff. There's this huge ballroom that it's one of those ballrooms that has like an entrance level that goes into the ballroom and there's like a coats section and that's where like the concierge was because they could lock the coats closet basically up. That was where I ended up working during the con because that was also registration. So, but yeah, so like one of the things I did was like help stock those bags. That's how I knew about how much was in there. Then during the actual convention, I went up Tuesday, metroed in, because I was like, I'm not paying parking inside of DC. Although, come to find out that like the metro rates have gone up apparently. And so for me to get, this was basic. So if you're familiar with DC at all, this is pretty much north of DuPont Circle. And so for me to get from where we are to DuPont Circle, as well as the parking at the Branch Avenue, it was basically over $15 because it was like $6 each way to DuPont Circle. So then, as I'm leaving, across from the hotel, there was a parking lot that's like 12 hours, $10. I was like, damn it. So I just parked there. And then, of course, I backed into a concrete column. Got a nice little scrape on there. Dude, this parking garage was like super tiny. Like it's got lines. It's got lines where they want you to think you could drive 2 cars up and down, but like one car barely fit up and down the line. And so like you drive down and then the line would be full and there's nowhere to turn around. So then I'm backing up and it just happened to be in my blind spot. And it was just, there wasn't a lot of place to move. So I'm like also trying to like back and turn and just managed to hit it.
Yeah, parking garages are a giant. I'm at my vehicle, like I'm at the limit of how comfortable I am with how large my vehicle is in a parking garage.
Mm.
And it's really not like it's not a presidential Suburban.
Yeah, because you got a RAV4. That's like the nice size as far as like you could almost still fit in a compact car slot.
Almost, yeah. So that was one of my when my parents were talking about stuff, and it was like, I want something I can throw a couple people and some luggage, and we can just go somewhere.
Yeah,
and we have a little space to stretch. Yeah, it's a.
Yeah. So, yeah. So like Tuesday I metroed in, had to help. That was rough. That was a rough day.
Really?
Because that was unloading pallets from trucks.
Okay.
Because that was basically like I've got the picture here. This is all Catalyst stuff. So they had their own time where like each of the vendors had a time where it's like. That was the other cool thing about being behind the scenes is like seeing how conventions like this is run. So like first thing in the morning, their trucks from Lorton, all the convention stuff came in and we're like unloading all of them. You know, so it's just pallets and racks. Like you've worked in retail where it's just kind of like you unload a truck that's just racks that have been shrink wrapped and they've got like a sticker on them that says like this goes to this location.
Yes and no.
Ashley said she had done stuff, so I assumed a lot of places had. And I had seen it.
The stuff at Walmart, it was like, yeah, get the stuff out of the truck.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, we had palletized trucks that were shrink wrapped. And it was like, oh yeah, cool. This all goes to apparel, and we would just shuttle it over there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but then to the non shrink wrapped trucks.
Oh no.
Like that's like 3,000-4,000 individual boxes.
Oh yeah, I've done that too. But they would have basically the storage racks that have wheels, and they would have loaded up with whatever was for that department, and then shrink wrapped, and then have a label on it that's like this goes to coats, this goes to the terrace level, this goes to, and then using the freight elevators to like load everything in and get it to the floors it needed to be, and then it's like okay. Let's just unload the trucks, and then afterwards you do the like unboxing everything. It's just like get the stuff in the area.
Yeah, dude. That shit was on wheels?
The carts were.
That shit was on cheating fucking bastards.
Well, it was on a type of wheel. There were a couple of the carts that were overloaded, so the wheels broke half the time. So there was a little bit of a process of like replacing the wheels as we go sort of thing. But the ones that didn't, that were like palletized like this, there was a lot of pallet jack moving around.
Yeah.
So a lot of that. So then it's like those trucks come in and it's like got to get all this stuff off, cleared out. Because then once the vendors start arriving, which that might have been more of a Wednesday thing, but they all get their assigned times of, from this time to this time is when you can bring your truck in and do your unloading.
And unload it and get it going.
Yeah, because it makes sense when you think about it, but just someone that's never had to deal with the logistics behind a con, I just never thought about it, where it's like you only have so many loading docks, and the hotel's going to need it for their stuff as well, like all their regular day-to-day stuff.
That's right. Yeah, they still got to get their
like laundry and
detergent
trash,
and all that kind of crap.
Food deliveries, that sort of stuff. So there was like 1 to 2. They had like 1 to 2 loading docks that was like, okay, these are the things you can use. And so, and Games Workshop had like 3 trucks. So like There was one time I like sat down. So like Wednesday was when I helped out in the morning, and then I was doing registration in the beginning half. Finished my shift, went to the staff lounge to just kind of like rest for a second, and like suddenly one of the guys is coming up like, "Are you doing anything?" I'm like, "No." It's like, "Come with me." We had like another GW truck to unload.
Ugh.
Yeah, which that giant space marine I've shown.
Uh-huh.
That guy's
You have to unload him?
That guy's a heavy sucker, and he comes in pieces. It's really funny because he comes in pieces almost like a sprue. Like he almost comes the same way that you would assemble him as if he was a regular model.
Oh, that's awesome.
Except for the base was the worst. It had like 4 pieces to it because it was like 2 halves and then like a terrained 2 half.
Oh, okay.
And
gotcha,
that was heavy stuff. So yeah, by like Thursday I was wore out.
That's awesome.
Luckily, after that,
I wonder if there's at the whatever factory GW uses, there's just a ridiculously huge injection molder. And he actually did come on a sprue.
Turns out, yes. They were test driving for different size minis and such.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So yeah, this is like the difference between those booths. Like there's Catalyst booth when they're like setting up, and then there's them set up.
And then there's the booth. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But then like Wednesday night, I knew Wednesday was going to be a long day because I managed to get into the GW reveal. Never have been to an official GW reveal before. And Nova's where they've done like some big reveals before. Like it's usually a big deal. Like when they announced that the Sisters of Battle were coming back as an army, I think it was at Nova was when they did it. So, and they did preface it by saying, look, we've only got a couple of things at Nova to show off this year. We're going to be showing off stuff for Blood Bowl and Age of Sigmar, and then we've got roadmaps for the rest of our games. So it was already like, okay, we're not going to get like a bunch of 40K reveals, etc. All right. First, I mean, they started off with the Blood Bowl one, which was actually kind of badass. The Chaos Dwarves. Like, these guys are kind of cool looking. I don't know how much you can see. Did I enable the thing so you can? Yeah, you should be able to see.
I can see. Yeah.
Yeah, like these guys are pretty cool looking. Like the goblin, they got the goblins there, but and then there's where was it? There's a Forge World model that is this guy, the Bull Centaur. Like this was the first model they showed off, and I was like, that guy's cool. So, especially when it's talking about like cool models, like they showed off some cool stuff. And then Age of Sigmar, they showed off some cool stuff too. Then they got into their...
They probably go so fast.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably like 20 minutes of the entire... It was like an hour and a half-ish, hour and 15.
Oh, no, I meant because they're red.
Oh, yeah.
They go fast.
You got me. You got me on that one. They're not orcs, though.
Oh, they're not? Okay.
Because they're goblins and chaos dwarves.
So they don't think they go fast.
Yeah. These road maps... This is the second half of this was. I will go ahead and tell you...
Tanks!
I will go ahead and tell you these road maps that I'm about to show you are more than what we got at the reveal. Like, literally, the road maps was the presenter and somebody from that team sitting on a couch just chatting. And it summarized as, like, most of it was, hey, let's talk about all the stuff that came out this year. And then afterwards, it's like, hey, give us, like, 3 words about what's coming out in 2025. It was really, like, this was, like, garbage. This whole reveal, if you talk, like, you know, people like to do their bitching and complaining. If you talk to just about anyone, even the most diehard fanboys, they'd be like, that was the worst reveal we've seen in a long time.
Oh, wow.
Where it was like, literally, to me, it felt like GW the week before realized, oh, crap, we've got this reveal next week. We probably should put something together for that. But, like, you know, here, they'd have, like, the roadmap where it's, you know, here's everything.
I don't want to brag, but even we've been a little more organized than that.
Yeah. Like, here's the roadmap. This is basically everything on the left here is everything they've already announced. Like, we've already talked about this stuff, and then the other stuff is more to be announced soon for this faction. Here's another faction, and then there's more other factions coming. Like, and then you get to like 40K where it's like, oh, guess what? Nothing else is coming out once the Blood Angel stuff releases. Nothing else is coming until 2025.
Oh.
And your roadmap is these 3 codexes, and we're not even going to give dates or like general ideas of a roadmap. It's just, hey, did you have a guess at what's coming out next year? Ta-da! Like, more codexes, big names.
I was gonna say these 3 codexes plus more codexes.
Yeah, like that's done.
Is that the proper pluralization of that?
Codexes. I mean, for this spelling of it, I think like if you talk about in other things, it would be codices.
Codices, yeah.
Like the heresy one. This is your tanks.
Tanks.
Yeah, where it's just like, hey, look, this is pretty much what we've done so far, and then in 2025, tanks, and that's it. That was the roadmap.
I don't
So-
even care. Some of those tanks look kind of cool in that picture.
I mean, yes, tanks. The tanks are awesome, and they mentioned that like, oh, they're gonna get into more Legion specific type stuff, but that was about it. Like, great guys.
We have
and-
dreadnought tanks.
Hmm?
What if we had
Dreadnought tank.
dreadnought powered tanks.
So you just want like a dreadnought with tank treads.
Yes,
Okay.
but still have like because I don't know. Some of those tanks have like. I'm guessing they have like APC capabilities.
Yeah. Some of them do. Hey, other Phil's in the chat. You're just in time to
Other
hear
Phil's in
me
the chat.
bitching about GW. But yeah, so like these reveals were just so bad. It was, and then so for the Nova show, which was different than the like what they put out on the internet.
Okay.
So for the Nova show, they were like, "Hey, we want Nova to be personal, and we care about Nova, and we always want it to be a big deal." So, they did some trivia stuff, which was like you could win a spearhead box and like a kill team and like some other stuff. But they didn't lock down who could win, so like the same guy won twice.
Ah,
So like it was like awesome way to, you know, if you were fat fingered and all that, but it should have been like, hey, if you win, you can't win again. Like
yeah, like God, what am I thinking?
the radio.
Yeah, the radio.
Yeah.
Like you can't win for another 30 days.
Yeah. So like either the guy got 2 spearheads or he got a spearhead and a kill team, but it was like still it's like leave some for everybody else.
No.
But that was neat just because of the sense of they did a heresy one, so I got to like go through all the heresy lore that I know, and I actually knew a lot of them. There's like 1 or 2 that I did know because they're later in the heresy that I haven't gotten to yet.
Okay.
But then they're like, we've got this special video that only Nova is gonna see, and I was like, first of all, you're assuming no one here is recording it.
Yeah.
They didn't take our phones. Second of all, they played the video, and it was basically a lore video about where the new box of kill team is going to be taking place at,
Okay.
which was cool and all. And it turns out that like the narrative this year for Kill Team, the narrative events at Nova were also taking place on that world, so it was kind of like in universe, which is like the first time that's happened at Nova. Usually it's its own set aside thing. So that was cool-ish, and I like that they did tie that, but at the same time it's like this is content only fraction of a fraction of your audience cares about. Like we're not like yes, it's 40K, so it was kind of neat, but then it's like Kill Team related, so it's even smaller fractions. And then the last thing, they tried to pull one of those Apple One Last things, and he kept doing, except for they talked about it through the entire presentation of, hey, I've got something to show off that only I know about. And he points to like the other GW employees, like the rest of these guys don't even know what I've got to show off.
But they do. It's scripted. It's rehearsed.
It was a video showing off a new version of the Lord of the Rings or the Middle Earth strategy battle game to tie in with the War of the Rohirrim animation thing that's coming out. Like the most obvious thing you could think about. Like I'd been
Uh-huh.
hearing actually that there was a new edition of the Middle Earth Strategy Battles game coming out, which some people say is like the greatest game set that they actually put out. But also, like, when you're talking about fractions of fractions, like the people that play that game, like they're diehard fans, but like you're appeasing to a very, very tiny section of your audience here. So like everybody, like I talked with one of the guys that I was hanging out with. This is the guy, he runs the AOS narrative events or one of the people that runs the AOS narrative, the Age of Sigmar narrative at Nova. And halfway through the presentation, he just went up and went shopping at the GW booth because he's like, this is boring.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Like he stayed around for his revealed stuff, and some of that stuff he was kind of wow. Like I heard some oohs and ahs coming from behind me.
Uh-huh.
But like after that, he just got up and left because like the rest of this is just boring. And it was just like, dang,
That's wild.
didn't
man.
even try. So, but yeah, going back to the photos here. Yeah, this was actually big because Cattle's like BattleTech has been at Nova. Like they've done big. They've not big, but there's been, they've had more than a seminar room full of people playing BattleTech for the past couple years. But this year, finally, Catalyst had a booth at Nova, partially because of the 40th anniversary of BattleTech. But like they brought the big inflatable mech and put it out front.
Oh sweet.
Yeah. But they had it flipped around so it was facing like the entry of the hotel, so it's like butt was facing the street. Which like I get it from maybe a photos perspective, but I was like it's not really a good advertisement.
Yeah, that is you gotta.
Let's see what I'll say. Oh yeah, so this is the big ballroom for the 40K, and like over to the side here is where like the narrative kind of stuff is. This is where like the presentation was eventually, and then around the rim there's like this is all GW stuff. This is like I don't know if you remember the times we went to Nova that there was the game store that had the cage.
Mm-hmm.
That's this booth here. And also,
Okay,
the first time Mantic Games was there as well, showing off. Basically, they brought all the Halo copies that didn't sell at Gen Con and then sold out of them here. They started off with like, I think it was somewhere around like 20 to 30. And it was like by the last day, there was like 3 sitting on their on their table. So I showed off that. Oh, they had. You remember we did the story about Weta Workshop doing Warhammer figures?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, and for those that don't, Weta Workshop is the group that does Peter Jackson. That's his group that did like all the Lord of the Rings prop stuff. But they had an example of actually, I think I have a better picture. So that was I actually got to, I carted out the thing.
Okay.
That was part of the unloading I did. I think somewhere I found I had to take the actual picture of. Yeah. So this is the full figure. This thing has got to be at least $300. But
wow.
you can change the weapons and the head. Like you can put his helmet on and not put it literally on. I think this whole collar comes off and then you put the head collar on and then you can disconnect his arm and put the power hammer thunder hammer on instead. But I just looked at that. I was like, oh, that is so cool. Like I'm never going to own this, but that's so cool. All right. Back to the beginning. One of the other companies on there, really lackluster name. It was just called like Tabletop Terrain, and I think it's like tabletopterrain.com. Really cool stuff. Like it was basically a bunch of 3D printed stuff, and he basically just prints out stuff. Like he licensed it from other artists, and I think on his website you can even go to the artist if you want to like buy the files directly and print them yourself. But like. It was a 10th edition full table set of terrain that's like printed ruins and everything for $175. Like you can't get MDF terrain that did all that for like that's about like what the going price is for MDF terrain, and this was fully printed 3D stuff. That's like what the whole set looks like. I entered Capital Palette with one of my guys.
Nice.
I'll come back to that. I checked out this game. It's called Black Powder Red Earth. It's basically like Call of Duty, the minis game, where it's a modern day military game. It was like super in depth. Like the guy goes to like DoD war games, and they use this for those type of like convention kind of things, like defense war game convention sort of stuff.
Okay.
And they use his game in some of those because it's very like tactical sort of sense where, you know, squad based, close combat, you know, everybody's got drones and equipment, so there's not like a quote fog of war, because it's like you know who's in the building. Like you've got
Gotcha.
radar, you've got drones, you've got heat seeking, you know, that sort of thing. So it was really in depth. The system was really kind of cool. It wasn't for me. It's not like I'm not going to be getting it anytime soon. Because the box was like $300, which is a lot for a game that I don't know if it's going to get played. Like if other people were playing it, that would be a different story. Also, it uses like real life factions. Like it's like a alternate fiction of like say. I think it's set in like North Africa, like these North African territories something happens and starts this conflict, but uses too close to normal, too close to actual reality factions. And I'm like, I'm playing these games as an escape from the real world.
Yeah.
Like this is why I don't play historical games. Like I don't want to play World War II games with like the Nazis and the Russians and all these things. Like I don't want to do that. But like if it had been the game, but like fictionalized versions of different names where it's not America, but maybe it's like the Grand Union or something, you know, then I might have been more on board. But the game system itself is really cool, and it doesn't use like a whole lot of, like you can see here, it's like card-based terrain, and then you have like the doors and like cars itself, but the actual kind of reminded me a little bit of Zombicide, of like having like your grid layout of different cardboard tiles, or like Arcadia Quest in that regard.
I was going to say Arcadia Quest too, yeah.
Except for in here, it's just buildings. Let's see what else. Oh, this is more of that tabletop terrain. I was looking at this for like Necromunda or Cyberpunk, where it was just like, ooh, because this like top part comes off, so you can go in the building.
Okay, nice.
They had a bunch of other stuff.
Family Abode. The donut shop.
The donut shop. Pizza. This is for like Marvel Crisis Protocol, where it's like Pizza Man. Pizza is our superpower. And I think it was
Excuse me, sir. Can you please exit the donut?
Stanley's Astonishing House of Comics. Stanley's. Yeah. Like I love this ramen bar. But I was like, I kind of wish this was blank and I could write whatever I wanted on there for like Necromunda.
Oh yeah.
Because like I've been like coming up with I think I don't know if I talked about it on here, where I've been coming up with a storyline for like a fictionalized version of Necromunda in our area. And like I could customize that. But yeah. There, see the big inflatable mech.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Which was funny because it was like downstairs you had the 1-to-1 size Terminator, and upstairs you had the 1-to-1 size Omni-Mech, which makes you realize how small an Omni-Mech is to like something like an Atlas.
Yes.
Because you get up there and like you're maybe like up to the top of this catalyst thing, so you're like, man, this thing's like it's big, but it's also kind of small. Nova had their own beer.
They had custom cans.
They had custom cans, which was still cool.
Yes.
It was still very cool, and it was they had like the artwork on here was still cool by this beer company called Vossen. Is apparently local in Virginia, I think.
What is it?
It's a salamander.
Okay, it's a salamander. I was like, is it a lizard?
It's a on fire. So that was the big theme this year was salamanders for Nova. So like the heresy shirt was salamanders. Like, there was a salamander in the like, it's called like a texture paint trainer, that I got in the Capital Palette stuff. It was like I got a little bottle of orange and this cool, Nova salamander. Like all the stickers were themed with salamanders.
Okay,
So that was like the big, mascot this year.
nice.
There's a million pizza places around, but somebody, it was one of the days, I think it was like Thursday, like somebody just gave me, one of the other booth people had just bought some pizza, and I was working the store, and they just gave me some, and I was like, this is really good. And so they showed me this, and I opened it up, and they had stuff other than pizza, and like that day I had some trouble trying to find, I was like, because like here's the thing about the location, it's hard to eat healthy and cheap at this location. Because
Yes.
there's convenience food, there's the food that the concessions they have at the hotel, ridiculously expensive. Like one of the ladies bought like a can of Coke for like $8, like a can of Coke, and I think actually it may have been closer to like 12.
Jeez.
And like, but I mean, I get it. It's convenient. When you
yeah,
step
you're
outside of that,
100% paying for.
There are a billion pizza places around this area, and they all have like slices that are like half the slice, or like, excuse me, double the slice of like what you would expect a normal slice of pizza to be. So then there's that, and then like I had to walk all the way to Adams Morgan, and I found a Asian place that had a lunch special where it was like, chicken teriyaki, rice and some veggies for like $14, and I was like, yes please. Vegetables. I need me some vegetables. After like 3 days of eating pizza. And then I found this place, Tatiana's Pizza, and then I opened up and they had other things in there like subs, and like they had like gyros.
Okay.
So I was like, yes, I can get other food besides pizza. I know Mel Bose is somebody that Beatles had us on our list of people to bring on the show, but I had never heard the name other than that. Apparently, he's a terrain guy, and there's a book that one of the booths was selling from his stuff. It's like Terrain Essentials. That's like a step-by-step guide on like making your own wargaming terrain, like from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really cool. Like talking about like cutting foam and stuff. I finished at the last moment. I finished off my Heresy army. Like down to the wire. Like I was putting transfers on the day before.
Oh wow.
Yeah. By the way, I wrote that myself. The Ultramar that's on there. I was gonna
Okay.
I was gonna try and find a transfer that I could get that would curve like that. And then a friend of mine was like, just he handed me like a felt tip marker that was like fine point. And I was like, all right. And I just wrote it myself and made sure to do like the serifs and everything to make it look more Roman-y.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I wrote that.
Is that
This
is
is a dread-
Ultramar the proper lettering, or would it be Ultramarine?
No, so Ultramar is the world that they so sorry.
The world. Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, Ultramarines are not like Ultramarines; they're Ultramar Marines.
Gotcha.
Where like the realm of space, like Rabute Gilliman's like own little realm of space that he conquered before the Emperor came up, he was called Ultramar. And so they're like the Marines of Ultramar, Ultramarines.
The Marines. Okay.
Yeah, that was Phil.
Gotcha.
That was other Phil's idea in the chat.
Nice.
This is okay. So we're gonna start a drinking game from here on out.
Okay.
And that is drink every time you see one of these carts.
Every time you see one of those carts.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Now keep in
should
mind.
we call 911 now?
Yes. Keep in mind,
Just get them on the way.
I also own one of these carts and did bring it to Nova, which was actually very handy because I arrived before I had to check in. So I just was able to like load all of our luggage on that and shove it into the staff lounge until I could check in. But yeah, like look, this is a fancy. It's a specific cart too. I think it's an Olympia cart, I think is what it is. Like it's not like people are using off brands of the same cart. It is legit the same cart. Only the different option is some of them have a third shelf and some of them don't. Like I have the one that doesn't. But like, bam, 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 there's one back there, there, all the end caps. Of course, they had.
When you find a thing that works.
Yeah. Also, Kill Team was there. I mean, they're handy because like you could just kind of like scoop everything off. Like you just have your stuff on there, and like when you're done, you just scoop it onto the cart, and move to your next table. So of course
we didn't have as much stuff, but we got those red tackle boxes.
Yeah.
For X-wing. I know you and I had like 2 each.
Yeah. Oh man. This was the coolest thing about Nova is like as much as I bitch about competitive competitive 40K, seeing the narrative boards gave me so much hope because like they're not so much like the same terrain layouts that you see 5 million times on, like if I go back over here, it's this exact same table layout on every single table just about. Whereas if you go here and like these huge boards that I know took a whole lot of work, where it's like here's the inside of some sort of structure that's deteriorated, and then you've got like, okay, here's like a rocky mountainside kind of different territory thing. And again, you've still got the objective locations because it's tied to that in scorings, but you still got that way you can have it somewhat narrative though. Like here's more of like your standard trench warfare sort of board with these like trench lines going through and tanks on it and stuff. This was really cool. I sent this to a picture to one of our friends that plays Imperial Guard, and I was like, control yourself. Then like a more Necron themed one with all the highlights and stuff on it. Again, more carts. Take 4 more shots, guys. 5. There's another one in the background. This one was kind of cool because it's kind of like your defend the base sort of layout.
Like your Helm's Deep-ish almost.
Like here's the base. It's even got like another gun line at the top here, and then you've got the actual base with guns and stuff, and then the buildings for like people to hide as you're coming up. And then kind of like your what's the planet that the dude died in or burned in? Mustafar,
yeah.
That kind of looking stuff.
Is that a drill?
I think it's a gun. But like I think it's a like centerpiece kind of gun, not like an actual unit.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and then you got
it's terrain.
I think it was a terrain piece. This was cool where it was like an air base. So they had the big huge like Thunderhawks and some of the Storm Eagles and stuff, but all as terrain pieces. And then you had like the aircraft tower. I want to say that's a Stormbird based on another picture you'll see later, which I'm trying to see. Okay, I know how to do a good comparison. Okay, here we go. If I can reach it with the little bit of cord I got. Okay, here we go. So this is a Storm Raven, all right?
Okay.
This is basically this. It's very similar in size. The only difference is some of the pod layout and the engine design's a little differently. So that just gives you a scale of like, so these two I think this might be different, but so this compared to like this and this just shows you scale wise of how big those things are.
I'm not.
Or actually, another thing, these are 2x2 squares here.
2x2s. Okay.
Yeah. So that gives you like this thing is filling this 2x2 square.
Jeez.
And then of course you had the Titans. Apparently this was all hand painted. This entire thing. I asked the guy because I was like, "Oh, cool. Did you hand paint the?" I was like, "Did you hand paint the shields?" And he's like, "Whole thing hand painted, not an airbrush used at all." I was like, "Do you hate yourself?" They had more of like the kind of like Egyptian ruins sort of layout. Another big Titan. This is like the Titans come out to play at Nova.
I remember seeing that was Did you get any pictures of like the Titan Play area?
So I
Are
don't
those
know
later
where
on,
it
or-
was this year. Either they set it up and then took it down when they did the events. Like I know they did the floor hammer stuff, but I was working when they were going on,
Okay.
and so I didn't see it. And I also didn't see, like, the previous year they had it marked out as a section of the 40K spot, and I didn't see that
Mhm.
this year. So I honestly don't know where it was happening at.
Okay. I mean, because that was just wild. Seeing
Yeah,
those models are 3 feet tall,
yeah.
and then it's like, take your shoes off, walking
Oh,
around.
trust me. We're gonna come back to those. By the way, another shot. There's a cart in the
Okay.
background.
Yep. Uh-huh.
More of your forest or dead forest sort of terrain. And then more classic style layouts, but still like not
I was gonna say,
cookie
like,
cutter.
quick glance, if I didn't notice the busted edges of all the buildings, I was like, oh, it's a nice little suburb. Got the streets and the trees. And...
This is the before picture. This is the after picture.
oh, yeah, there you go.
I mean, the castle here was pretty dope.
Oh, that is nice.
Yeah, but making up these like that terrain book was like how you could do stuff like these little rocks and plates and stuff. Because a lot of times this is cork that they use to build up these.
Oh, and they've got to like, yeah, cut it and carve it and stuff.
Yeah, well, sometimes like you can also like shave it and then use textured materials over it to kind of help do that. But I wanted to get that book, but it was $50 for the book. And I looked online, there's not a PDF available for this book. I'm like, it is 2024. Can I please just get a PDF copy? This is a book I don't necessarily need to have physical of.
Yeah.
I do like having physical books. Like, this was probably like Friday, so you can see the stack is kind of low.
hmm
I bought like 2 copies of Flashpoint at here because I did a lot of shopping for other people. I controlled myself and didn't do a lot of shopping for myself, but I did do quite a bit of shopping for other people.
For other people, yeah.
So got a couple more copies of Flashpoint in our local group. Army Painter had a big, huge booth there. There's Adam, who was on the show last year.
Okay, yep.
This was so they moved the dealer hall down to the basement level where there was last year, where the board games were last year. They kind of swapped those 2 locations.
Okay.
So the dealer hall was actually the dealers apparently it was more of a request to them be like outside the 40K room so that people would like walk through it on the way out of
That makes
walk-in
sense. Yeah.
traffic. So a lot of different dealers, like
Is
artists.
that go back to that Warlord flag?
Yeah.
Are they selling something Indiana Jones esque?
No.
No. Oh, I was just like the font and the coloring.
It does.
on
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So Warlord Games is just a game. They make a lot of indie RPGs.
Okay.
I'm trying to. They do like Bolt Action is the big one. That's the World War II one. They also do. They also do the one that's like Conflict 47. That's like World War II but with mechs.
Oh, okay.
Artist Opus was there if you want to pay like $100 for sets of brushes. One of these days I'm going to try one just to see like is it worth it. Let me work it. Baron of Dice was there. Dice galore.
Nice.
A-Case has always been there. Those are the magnetic cases where like it's basically like trays that you can slide in and out and then magnetize all your minis to.
The
and then-
bases. Okay,
yeah. So it's like, oh, I'm going to take this tray and this tray of my minis. They also had these, like this was another thing that all the Supernovas got. It's like a magnetic holder. So you could put a magnet on the base of your mini and just, it goes right on top of and then you hold it for, kind of like what I have for my hobby handle, but instead of having to put bottle caps on everything, you just magnetize it. Hey, Darren's in the chat. What's going on, Darren? So, let's see what else we got here. Death Rays Designs was there with their steel riff. It was kind of depressing because they also make a bunch of cool terrain, and they didn't have any of that really. They had like a little bit over here, but I was wanting to see some of their stuff because I was looking a lot for. I spent a lot of the convention looking at stuff, trying to come up, or because I want to do a big push for Necromunda soon in our area for getting some more terrain going for that. and I was hoping maybe they would have some stuff, and they didn't. I mean, I know they do on their website. I was just wanting to see it in person, see if there was like a con discount stuff they've done sometimes. But they were mainly promoting their Steel Rift game, which, I mean, it's a BattleTech style game, but a whole lot simpler, which was just kind of like, like I tried it last year, and it was like, it's a game. Like if somebody else had it, I would play it. I wouldn't buy it unless like a lot of people got into it, but it was just like, it's another game kind of thing. Friends at Game Envy were there selling all their wares. I picked up a set of their brushes, so I think I have just about everything they have now.
Oh, nice.
I wanted to try. I haven't had a chance to try out their brushes yet because I haven't gotten into any painting yet. But I have them ready to go whenever I'm ready. Let's see. Just some random booth that was selling like this. This booth was actually really funny because it was basically selling like 3D printed Pokemon, which I'm pretty sure they didn't have the license to. That they were just like printing stuff off the internet and then just selling it. So, and then like Pokemon Legos, and who knows where they like these plushes came from. And they had like sweaters where it was like you could get sweaters made of different things that they would just print.
That sign said Pal World plushes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I kind of recognize. I think this one I've seen before.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if anyone official from somewhere had seen it, they would have been like, nope. Was that Fire and Ash? They did a bunch of looks like MDF or birch stuff like dice towers and rolling trays and stuff like that. Commander deck holders.
God, it's gotta be a cool place to work.
Yeah.
Just from like the smell.
Okay, so this is one of the pictures I saw where I was like, I'll come back to this. And actually, I bought some of their stuff. So I got introduced a week before Nova. I got introduced to this stuff called Dirty Down. It is a bottle. It started off as a bottle. It started off as this stuff over here. And what it does is it's like the ultimate cheat to doing Rust. And I heard about it from a friend, and then I ended up hearing about it on a podcast like literally the next day, where like all you do is just take it out of the bottle and like paint it onto. Let's see if I can zoom in enough on this picture to where it'll. Yeah, like all this is just that stuff painted on. Like when it dries, it kind of dries in different areas and then leaves behind this kind of rust pattern.
Okay.
So that you can do kind of rust textures super easy. Like they have a verdigris one that's over here. So that's what this statue is. It's like, so the statue is painted like a metallic or a bronze or something like that. You put the verdigris stuff like all over the mini and then just kind of pat off where like the worn sections would be, like places that it wouldn't have gotten all the verdigris on. And then that's how you get the color on there. But they have a spray that's an aging spray, and that's basically this board over here. And I was like, great, that'd be, because I was trying to figure out, like I want to do effects for some of the terrain I'm working on for Necromunda, and this cat is smelling that chopper, or that Storm Raven now. I was like, I don't want to have to use a bunch of wash on terrain. That's like a big waste of stuff. Like, do I need to go make my own and stuff like that? No, they have the spray where like you do it in a more vibrant color, like this teal, and then you spray this brown in there and kind of like brush it into the corners, and then you get kind of that aged effect in there. But like it's in a spray can, so like he was saying one of these cans he would have cosplayers use for like their entire outfit.
Oh, nice.
So
did that sign say gore and snot?
Yes. So that was the other thing that they were showing off this year. And I got this guy's card. So the Dirty Down is a product made in it's made in the UK, and apparently is hard to ship over because it's technically qualified as hazardous because it's flammable. So it's hard to get over here. And this guy partnered up with them to get it over here. This is you can see in the background here, the moss, rust, and verdigris. But then he partnered up with, so this is Goblin's Hut, by the way, in case. He partnered with them to then create this stuff, which is the gore and snot, which is how you did all these effects. And basically, it's like I don't know. It's a plasticky sort of like goo that you basically take a stick and kind of like pull it out and then kind of stretch it to all the parts you want to, and it stretches very like latexy,
Okay.
and then dries, and you get these kind of like once it dries, it becomes like these strings can become pretty brittle.
Yeah. I've seen TikToks of people making venom symbiotes,
Yeah.
like in glass jars, and they use some and they stretch it out to touch the
Yeah, so the gore one is basically just so the gore and snot are basically the same thing. It's just the gore's colored red. The
Red,
snot
yeah.
you can like color it whatever color you want to. And I ended up picking up the snot because I had an idea. I was like, ooh, I could use that because I don't do as much of like the demon stuff to where I would need it. But I was like, I could use it. And I asked the guy, I was like, what if I use this for like power fists or power swords where you could do like the lightning coming off of it?
Mm.
And then because you can color it after, you can paint it afterwards instead of mixing it beforehand. And he's like, that's actually a cool idea. Take pictures of it when you try it out, because a lot of people will use wire for that. You may have seen videos of it where they'll do wire and then they'll airbrush it to kind of do those lightning effects.
The effect on it.
But
yeah,
I don't want it like sticking out from the model. I want like a fist like that shows like the power or the lightning kind of going up the glove. So that's what I was going to try with that. And I had to take a second because Cat just took a crap right behind me. And it stinks!
Everyone's a critic.
It's like who farted in here? So yeah, that was really cool. And like I said, I'm going to try and get this guy on the show at some point in the future. All right, there we go.
Nice.
There was this company. It wasn't Green Stuff World, but they had this booth had a 3D printer and was just constantly 3D printing stuff while he was at the show. Just like while he's talking to people, this printer's printing off more stuff.
Oh, nice.
But he also had some paints from a couple different companies. TNT Laserworks. I've bought some of their template stuff before, like these. Some of these templates here. I think I have this one exactly right here. But they also make like you've also seen like the token dials. Or
Okay,
like
yep,
the
I'm
different
there.
numbers and stuff. They make Nova one, or they make stuff for the Nova shop too. Warcrow was there. Corvus Belli was there selling Warcrow, and once again I was tempted by that damn ice bear. They had they were selling quite a few of the Warcrow sets there. In fact, even one of the days I was there with our local shop owner, they bought a pack for their a set for the store.
Nice.
Is this Heresy? I think this might have been some of the, I was kind of walking through some of the halls. So this was like one of the smaller Heresy games going on. Yeah. They had a whole bunch of different Heresy games going on, which was really cool. I'm going to talk about that later, but like, so I played in the penultimate battle that they had, but they had all these smaller different Heresy events leading up to that. And apparently each one played a part in the final one. So whichever side won each game gave benefits on that final game.
Okay.
Like
I like when tournaments do that.
it was like, because like there was an orbital strike and the traders ended up winning the orbital strike. And like there was like you could bring back like Titans and bring back like certain infantry units. And if you lost, you still got stuff, but it wasn't as good. So like it was like if you won, you got a Titan back. If you lost, you got like a Lord of War or a Primarch or something back instead. Kind of thing. So the Atlantis Games and Models had this pen, and I should have bought it. I should have bought it.
Oh,
It
that's
says paint.
amazing.
It has a Space Marine and kind of the standard Titanic pose, and it says paint me like one of your models. All the GW booth with all the stuff that I helped unload. I liked this shirt. It was like your army sucks and you
That
play
is
it badly.
So great.
And then the other one that says F this game with the one dice in the background. There was a booth there from so there's a paint company there, or back up even more. So there was a guy that did a bunch of painting videos for GW called Duncan Rhodes, and he left GW and ended up starting his own line of paints called Two Thin Coats, because that was like his common phrase that he would say. is just do 2 thin coats of this before you move on to the next thing. So he started a paint company called 2 Thin Coats, and he wasn't there, but his company had, or they had a paint and take booth there, where you could try out their paints, including, like, they've only got Wave 1 out in America, and Waves 2 and 3 are coming. Well, they had Wave 2 and 3 there for you to try. So I got this little guy. So I painted this guy up. I really like how his eye turned out.
Oh yeah.
But this little lizard man looking dude had a lot of fun. So this was about an hour of. It's just one of those fun like, let me take an hour and just paint something.
Mm-hmm.
Hobby Haven, which is where like you can just go and paint your stuff. They've got like a. You can't see it here, but I think right next to where this door is over the side, there's like a huge rack of army painter paint. So you don't even need to bring brushes and paints. Like you just bring your
okay.
models, and there'll be stuff there to paint. BattleTech. Here, I believe a lot of this was Alpha Strike. Yeah, I don't know if anybody was playing classic BattleTech when I went in there. At the time I went in there. This board was kind of cool layout though.
Oh, that's somebody's rule set.
What?
The papers right there.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, is that like some kind of cool like
no, that's just like the
thing?
That's like
No.
the scenario.
Yeah.
Selfie. Oh, okay. So they had one hall so they had the big hall for the 40K stuff, and then they had another big ballroom was where 90% of the other large games were. So it's basically like if you have a large game that isn't 40K, it was in this room. So this was Kings of War, which is a Mantic game, which is basically Mantic's version of the fantasy battles. That's all the trays type stuff. They call them like rank and flank or rank and file.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. So the next several shots are going to be pictures of different games, just because I saw so many cool painted armies, so many cool painted terrains that I just took a bunch of. I just walked through this. Also, cart.
Yep, cart right over there.
Cart in the back
Is
over
that
there.
is that a turn timer?
Yes, there were a lot of these tournaments will use chess clocks to make sure that both players get enough time. Like when you're doing a competitive tournament. And a lot of times players can request a chess clock and they'll bring one out.
Oh, sweet.
If you've got someone that's like you think is purposely playing slow. Yeah, so more Kings of War here. A lot of really great stuff. Like I never end up playing a whole lot at Nova. I think like I've only played a total of like 3 games across the like 7 different Novas I've ever been to. Not including demoing, like personally played for my own entertainment. But one reason of going each year is just to check out all the cool stuff people do, because it gets me inspired to paint. Like I have been painting nonstop up to this just for a deadline, but now I'm like inspired to actually paint. And then Philip buys me Space Marine 2. Yeah, like you had these little Goliaths looking here. There's in the background you can kind of see. I didn't bring the fancy camera. I should have, but they got some like griffin looking eagle things in the background. Like these guys. Oh God, how did I get here? But these like fancy like. I mean, there's whole swaths of paint palettes that you just don't even see in 40K that are being in some of these games.
Yeah.
Like purples and stuff like that. Purples
Well, I mean,
and
if it was
pinks.
purple, you wouldn't see it anyway.
Huh?
If
Well,
it was
that's
purple,
orcs
you wouldn't see
again.
it anyway.
That's orcs. Playing that at the moment. What? Are you playing Kings of War at the moment? Is that what you're saying, Phil? This was really cool. There's like a little floating rock thing.
Oh, those are trees.
Yeah. Oh, here. Did you think it was like
They look like car
brushes?
wash brushes.
Yeah. I see it. More Kings of War stuff. Now we're moved into Age of Sigmar. So back to Warhammer.
Your Stargates are on the floor.
Yeah.
He said SM2.
Space Marine 2.
Oh, he's playing that right now.
Gotcha. By the way, cart. Like I wasn't joking. Like, and see, this gives you a little bit of the scale of what that huge ballroom was of all the different stuff. Like,
Oh yeah. I
back.
remember that room.
Yes, that's right. You did. I was about to say, I was like, no, you didn't go to that, but you last year, yeah,
Yeah, last year. Yeah, I've been to this
location.
location.
Yeah, and you'll get to it. We've got the Star Wars games are all the way in the back here. I'll get to some of those pictures. This was cool. It was like a little. They had it like. I think this is supposed to be like when the. I think this is supposed to be the Stormcast. Like when they die, they go up to their place to get reincarnated, and like they fight through trials and then come back. I think that's
Oh.
what this was supposed to represent. So like this was just where his army was that like had died. But
Oh, that is sweet.
it's just really cool. This is just a terrain board I saw that wasn't being used at the moment, but like
I'm digging the water.
the water is super cool. Oh, okay. So this is we're back to rank and file now, but this is the Old World came out. This back in like the beginning of this year. Warhammer came out with the Old World as the basically bringing back their fantasy game. So fantasy battles, but as a specialist game. So it's not like a fully supported game, but it's just like every now and then we're gonna put stuff out for it. It's mainly like all you people that burned your Warhammer armies. Now you can play your game again, even though technically you could have kept playing your game. But now we're gonna make stuff so you can buy from us again instead of you just playing with what you already had. More. This is probably more Sigmar stuff. Oh, definitely Old World. Ah, here we go, Star Wars. So we're in. Here's Legion right now. All the different Legion stuff. And again, just the terrain setups and the boards are just so cool. And then now we're into Shatterpoint, which is the new one from Atomic Mass. That's the bigger scale. I think it's 45 millimeter scale.
Okay.
I think it's the same size as Crisis Protocol. So that's more their skirmish, like 6-figure kind of game.
Oh, that's Jetpack Smoke.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this here. Did you think it was
Yeah.
like skulls or something?
I had no idea, like, or some kind of ooze or something.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
Like, what? And then I think, yeah.
So they had a play to win library and like a whole board game section, and like there
Oh,
was a I sent you the link to it. Like Sunday there was a Munchkin tournament that was like
Yeah.
the winner got tickets to Gen Con 2025. Oh yeah, like here's the whole big like this was the dealer hall last year, but this was the board game room this year.
That's right. Yeah.
So this was me getting okay. So this was I was supposed to play in Necromunda. I had signed up to play Necromunda, but Friday was so Friday. So I from working Nova, I got 2 nights at the hotel for free, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have that be Friday and Saturday night because Friday and Saturday were when I was actually playing games, and that way the days that I'm going to be carrying stuff with me, I have a hotel that I can store it, your hotel room I can store it at. Versus the rest of the days, I just had like a backpack, so I could come and go, no problem. So we get up there Friday, and keep in mind, we're normally an hour and a half from DC, but Friday morning traffic to DC. So I'm like, okay, Necromunda starts at 9. Let's try and get up there by like 8:15, 8:30ish. Give us time to like do parking, yada yada. So we're leaving at like 6:30 in the morning, getting up there. Get up there, go check, or go drop off our stuff. The guy I was up there with, he went and parked the car because I was like, I got to run to the game real quick because we got there pretty much at 8:30.
Yeah.
Show up there, and by the time I get down to the room, it's like 8:50, and there's already
Wow.
people playing the game. And I was like, oh. Am I too late? And he's like, yeah, we started at 8:30. And I was like, what? I thought it started at 9. No, it started at 8 was when registration was. I got the times wrong. That's on me.
Oh.
But he's like, round 2 starts at 11 if you want to get in on that. And I was like, okay. But then, so I had like 3 hours of nothing, and after having been doing a bunch of like work for the previous couple days, having a couple hours of not doing anything was kind of nice. So then it was like, maybe I don't need to play Necromunda today. So I just enjoyed having a couple hours off, and then I was like, yeah, I paid for the event, and I paid at least a not expensive amount, but some amount of money for it. But it all goes to charity, most of it, so it was not a big deal. But so the one game I did play was Heresy, and I actually finished in the nick of time my Heresy army. I have a couple minis I'm not proud of that I didn't do the greatest job on, but other people say otherwise. So my Heresy army is painted, by the way, cart, but it's my cart. But when you're carrying all this down from a hotel room, it kind of helps.
Yeah. Did just those two have the cow catchers on them? Did just those two tanks have the cow catchers on them?
Oh,
Yeah,
these on the front?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Because I think those are the only tanks that have those dozer blades, is what they're called in here. Yeah. One of the rhinos I have has like a smaller one on it, but I didn't bring it.
I saw a meme today. It was it's when you lie on the resume but still get the job, and you see like a dump truck with a plow on it, and then a couple of like decent sized pickup trucks with a plow on it, and a minivan with a snow shovel on the front of it.
So now we're getting into the big Heresy mega game, and again, this is where the Titans come out to play.
Yeah, man.
So, by the way, here's more comparisons. So all those figures that you saw over here, so this is them on my side of the board. So these are like your knights. So this is like your standard knight. These are a little bit bigger or taller knights. All right?
Yes.
These are those aircraft I was showing off earlier. So just comparison size here. Like, look at the size of the stand that these things have to have.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that was just, I did like a cool POV shot. Like it was really cool. I talked to this one guy how he did, this is like, basically have like cotton that you just kind of spray down from above black, and then have like a tea light inside. And you get one that like flickers.
Explosion. Yeah,
it's really cool looking. So this is the entire table of the battle. So like down here is just Titan and Demon War. Like, by the way, there's like a Godzilla. Somebody brought.
I saw that. I was like, that is awesome.
Like, that's the thing. Like with Heresy, it's one of those like close enough kind of games.
Okay.
Because it's not,
that's actually a Godzilla.
Yeah. No, that's a legit. Like, look, you can tell in the face.
You get the face, and yeah, as soon as it.
Yeah.
Oh, yep. That's a.
So this is just proxying as a large demon, and yeah, like this is what an actual demon would kind of be like over here on this tank.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you got the Titans out there, but like it's not a competitive game. Like you shouldn't be taking it seriously. So it's, I'm using this as this. Okay. And then if you brought mostly infantry, there was a Zone Mortalis is what this tile play is, and that's where like all the infantry were fighting it out, which was really cool because at the edge of this photo there are two giant cannons, and the heretics had won them from a previous game, so they had control of the cannons and could use them to shoot at the tanks and Titans and whatnot. I ended up taking the brunt of them a lot of times because I was right next to them. However, if in the middle of the Zone Warfare, or the Zone Mortalis game here, if the Loyalists took over certain points, it would screw up the accuracy of the guns. So like the traitors would still fire them, but they would have like scatter die to kind of like move the shots around. They wouldn't be as accurate as before. So it was kind of cool. Like it was kind of sectioned off into its own battle. Like you couldn't shoot into this at all, but at the same time still had importance on the big overall battle. Yeah, this is one of them Stormbirds, the Sokar Stormbirds. That's just so freaking huge. So there's a giant Fellblade tank in the back there that's you can see is smoking. That's because this Contemptor managed to fire a shot, the last shot that blew it up, and then it blew up a tank next to it when this blew up, which was really great. I almost won a prize for this because they had like 3. So since it's not a tournament, but there were still prizes at most of the events because Nova just does a bunch of prize support, they gave away like 3 big prizes. The first prize was who killed the most stuff. The second prize was who lost the most stuff, like who lost the biggest percentage of their army, which the person who won was 100%.
Okay, yeah.
And then the third one was called the Big Game Hunter, which was the smallest mini that blew up the biggest thing. And I almost won that because this guy is like 200 points and that guy back there was like 800 points or like 1,000 points. And I was in the running for the longest time until some random smaller dude killed a huge demon, and the scale, because the demon was like 500, 600, and the guy was like 800, so the scale was so much bigger. But up until that, I was winning. A lot of just more of the game there. You can see more of the smoke pot things. I may need to make some of these.
Those are kind of cool.
All my dead tanks. So in there literally is there a mechanic in Heresy where when your tank dies and takes like certain types of hits, they're called like penetrating hits, you roll on a table. And there's the last part on the table is tank explodes or vehicle explodes, in which case it gets removed from the board. If your tank dies and it doesn't explode, it becomes just wreckage on the battlefield. Which is funny because this guy had tanks back in here. He could not move them because we blew up enough stuff that he could not get past it.
Oh, nice.
That he was just walled in. Also, by this point in the game, you'll notice that there's alcohol on the table. This was where we got into full drunk hammer because it is like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and suddenly you hear the event guy being like, "Oh, by the way, at this point, you can do any rerolls as long as you take a shot." Take a shot of something you can do, and it was like it can be anything, like doesn't have to be alcohol.
Then just a shot.
Just take a shot. So like, which I never used, but like there was a couple of I had a couple of beers that were given to me at this point. There was a couple times where like that last roll that like somebody does epically and takes out that last hit, and you're like, somebody give me a shot of something. This was freaking awesome. Was one of the dreadnoughts that I saw there. Like every year I find a really cool dreadnought that somebody's tagged up. Like last year it was the guy that like ripped the dude in half, and this time it was looks like Blood Angel's dreadnought, Contemptor dreadnought that's just like flying through the air, standing on this rock. And then Sunday I helped pack things away, and was really exhausted and drove home or rid home. But yeah, I got myself. This is definitely my first purchase. Like as soon as the money hit the bank account that I got paid that week, it was like, all right, ring me up a shirt.
Yeah.
Also, I managed to get I talked to Kit that we interviewed from Game Envy. I got a copy of the Lucient light to review.
Yeah, that's the one with the like what the
rotating
3 arms or something.
Yeah, it's got 2 arms with 4 lights on it. Oh my God, this light is, I've only used it like a little bit, but it's amazing. There's like almost every other booth that wasn't also selling a light had one of these when they were showing off stuff. Because it's really good for like allowing a lot of light. And I'm going to do a full write-up on it later with pictures and stuff. It just gives a lot of light to your model. And also just a lot of convenience, and there's a lot of options. Like you can turn off some lights, you can dim them, you can do different color, like temperatures. So like your sunlight versus your indoor lights. But also something that somebody else pointed out to me, it's also really good as a light box for showing light for taking pictures. Because like all you need to do is kind of put a black background, like just like a black piece of paper behind it. And then the light is enough light that you could really get some good miniature pics. So I'm going to have to do that. And I think that is it. That's probably all I got too. Because I'm still recovering, and I'm probably going to pass out after doing all this because this is the most talking I've done in like a week. So, yeah, Nova was a blast. I'm already thinking about next year. and stuff. And it's like, I'm even thinking, like, Philip, I've even had like the thoughts where it's like, how much better could I do stuff at Nova if I didn't go to Gen Con? Like,
Okay.
roll that money forward. And I
Uh-huh.
know it's like blasphemy, but like the thought has entered the brain. Especially like when you get for all the shenanigans of it, what it takes to go to Gen Con, of like the hotel
Yes.
lotteries and all that. Whereas like there's still a lot of people here at these at this convention, but it's small enough that you can actually get a hotel spot. And if you don't,
Mhm.
there's a hotel across the street. You can get a spot there.
Exactly.
So, yeah, like I said, got thoughts and opinions. If you got thoughts and opinions, let us know. Philip, roll that footage. Oh, wait, it's me. I forgot it's me now. All right, go ahead.
And that's been our show. Thank you guys for hanging out with us in the chat. If you like what you see, you got to check out boardandswords.com/live. That's got the links to where we stream. It's got the calendar for when we stream. And boardandswords.com. Just check that out in general. It's got all the stuff we have done in the past. And Rusted Beetle
Has thoughts and
finally
opinions.
showing up at the end has thoughts and opinions.
Yep. Make sure Discord, boardsandswords.com/Discord. I'm really trying to grow that a lot more. I even made it a community Discord, so we got a cool stuff there. Like I said, if you are a patron, make sure you're in the Discord, because that's where we're going to be doing like bonus bits type stuff for later on. Once I make sure Space Marine 2 is up and working, we're going to do some playthroughs of that. But send us feedback if you want to let us know your thoughts and opinions. Email us feedback@boardsandswords.com. Facebook @boardsandswordspod. Instagram, which I thought was dead, but apparently when you go to a miniatures gaming tournament where everybody's taking pictures of everything, people still use Instagram. So Boards and Swords, Chris on Instagram, and @boardsandSwords on Twitter or X or whatever you call it. Links are all at boardsandswords.com, like the Patreon. Check it out, support the show. We'll be back next week because we're trying to get back on our schedule with another show. Next time we're going to have Whistler, the designer of the Rapscallion RPG from Magpie Games. They're going to be on, and we're going to be back to our normal show with talking with people and having us show off their cool stuff. In the meantime, remember that every gamer has a story, and mine is going to be turning on the Steam Deck here in a second to make sure that Space Marine 2 downloaded. Good night, everybody! Yeah. So yeah, that them's the show. Thanks everybody in the chat. We had up to 6 people watching at one time.
Oh, nice. There's
consider
5
that
watching now.
Mine says 6 right now, but maybe that's just most concurrent.
That could be.
But yeah, tons of fun. I'm just glad I was able to do the show. Friday, I was kind of like, I don't want to have to move the show, especially since we have a guest the following week. I was like, this gives me a couple, and that's the whole thing, is like the COVID wasn't like, I got hit with COVID, but I got hit light with COVID. Like, I didn't have, the only COVID specific symptom I had was the fatigue. Like, I just thought I had a sinus infection. Because like my throat was sore, my head was draining. I was like one of those like, bruh, like my head feels like this big, and like the headaches, everything. And just on a whim, like I think it was Ashley's parents said something about, did he test for COVID? And I was like, ha ha ha, I went to a convention, I should probably check. It's just a sinus infection. Pops positive on COVID test. I was like, oh shit. Like I called Ashley. And I was like, I texted her, I was like, I have COVID. And she's like, she was in the store and then being like, fuck, and like running out of the store because it's like, okay, she's been exposed and trying not to spread stuff. But, Yeah, today was the first day I popped negative. I didn't test yesterday, but in general. But so yeah. But that's like I said, it's been like it was mostly just sinus congestion, but the fatigue has been real. Like I'll do like something and then it's like, okay, I'm gonna go lay down now. I'm gonna go lay into bed now. I'm lay tired.
But I am tired.
Like tomorrow I'm gonna try and work for some of the day, but it's gonna literally have to be some of the day because I don't think I could get through. I'm not gonna be going to work because I wanna. There's no official guidelines anymore, but it's like the general rule of thumb is like 3 times no, or 2 to 3 times no COVID before you're clear to be out and about.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do all that before I go into the office. But even working from home, it's like I'm gonna be. If I'm answering emails, after a while, it's going to be like, I'm going to need a nap because I'm a little tired. So, thanks everybody for jumping in the chat here. I'm going to kill the stream now. Bonus bucks. Yeah.
Bonus bugs.
So, I'm going to kill the stream here.